Announced policy of January 3rd, 2025, the gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Foster, is recognized for 60 minutes as the designee of the Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I first ask for unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks and submit extraneous material into the record.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to open this special order hour to discuss the expiration of the New START Treaty, the importance of arms control, and the urgent need to strengthen global nuclear security. I want to thank the members who will be joining me this evening for their leadership and their willingness to engage on issues that carry existential consequences for our country and for the world. As many of my colleagues know, I'm the only PhD physicist currently serving in the United States Congress. Before coming to Congress, I spent more than 2 decades as a high-energy particle physicist and particle accelerator designer at Fermi National Accelerator Laboratory, where we were smashing together protons and antiprotons to make particles that have not been around since the Big Bang, and designing and building the giant particle accelerators and detectors and analyzing the data. I was on the team that discovered the top quark, the heaviest known form of matter. But because of that background, I feel a special responsibility to engage deeply on issues of nuclear weapons, arms control, and strategic stability, not as abstract policy debates, but as matters grounded in technical reality. Arms control is not about unilateral disarmament or wishful thinking or fantasies of dominance or trusting adversaries. Arms control is about verifiable limits, predictability, and reducing the risk of miscalculation between nuclear armed states. For decades, arms control agreements have helped prevent a catastrophic nuclear exchange, not by eliminating deterrence, but by stabilizing it. The New START Treaty, which stands for Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, was signed in 2010 and extended in 2021 and is the last remaining bilateral nuclear arms control agreement between the United States and the Russian Federation. New START places verifiable limits on deployed strategic nuclear weapons and on delivery systems and provides for data exchanges, for notifications, and on-site inspections that give us direct insight into Russia's nuclear forces. New START followed a long line of arms control agreements from SALT to START 1 to SORT that helped reduce the global nuclear arsenal from the Cold War highs of more than 70,000 weapons to fewer than 13,000 today. These agreements were supported by Democratic and Republican administrations alike because they made the United States safer. Under New START, the United States does not rely on guesswork, on satellite imagery alone, or on worst-case assumptions. We rely on legally binding limits and on verification measures backed by some of the most sophisticated scientific and intelligence capabilities of the world. Today, that system is fraying. Russia has suspended its participation in New START, and on-site inspections remain paused, and the treaty itself is set to expire in less than 1 month. Anyone who remembers past arms control negotiations understands the gravity of this moment. Negotiating a successor agreement will take years, not months, and we are already past the danger zone. If New START expires without a replacement, there will be no legally binding limits on the world's 2 largest nuclear arsenals for the first time in more than half a century. The consequences of that outcome would be serious and immediate. The United States would lose treaty-mandated insight into Russia's deployed nuclear forces. Both countries would be free to increase the number of deployed warheads on existing missiles. Strategic planning would increasingly be driven by worst-case assumptions rather than verified facts. At the same time, we'd face a far more complex nuclear environment than during the Cold War. China is rapidly expanding its nuclear forces. Russia continues to engage in irresponsible nuclear saber-rattling during its illegal war in Ukraine, and Iran and North Korea continue to challenge the global non-proliferation regime. In this environment, allowing arms control to collapse is not a show of strength. It is an abdication of leadership that increases the risk of miscalculation, of arms races, and of ultimately nuclear use by design or by accident. Verification will be at the heart of any future arms control effort, and this is where America's scientific enterprise plays a critical role. Our national laboratories provide the technical backbone for verification, for monitoring, for treaty compliance, and they are essential to maintaining U.S. leadership in this area. As co-chair of the Bipartisan National Labs Caucus, I've seen firsthand how investments in science and scientific talent directly translate into national security. You know, if you're a member of Congress, you have the opportunity, if you ask, to go into the room where you see our nuclear weapons taken apart. You talk to the experts about why the design choices were made, what the design margins are, and why they have to be built the way they are. And if you walk into that room and you see those weapons and think about what they're capable of, if that doesn't make you take your job seriously, you're not thinking clearly. But verification is not a diplomatic afterthought. It is a scientific challenge that demands sustained investment and expertise. The choice before us is not between arms control and national security, because arms control is national security, and it remains one of the most effective tools we have to reduce nuclear risk while maintaining a credible deterrent. The expiration of New START without a successor would mark a dangerous turning point, signaling that restraint and verification no longer matter. This special order hour is about sounding the alarm, but it's also about reaffirming that Congress has a responsibility to engage. Congress has a role in oversight, a role in funding verification and nonproliferation, and a role in insisting that arms control remains a core pillar of the U.S. national security policy. The next few years will be decisive, and decisions that we make or fail to make will shape whether the world moves towards stability or towards, once again, unconstrained nuclear arms races. So I look forward to the discussion this evening, and I'm now proud to introduce my colleague, John Garamendi of California, a longtime advocate for arms control, and with whom I've had the honor of spending the weekend underneath the North Polar ice cap in a nuclear submarine. It's my honor, and I will recognize him for the duration of his remarks.